Okay, welcome back. We're in Aberdeen. We find ourselves in Aberdeen and we're going to go to Lossiemouth. There is a oil rig, so we'll do a landing on the oil rig first and then we'll go in and we'll land at Lossiemouth, which is a huge RAF base. I think they do intercept there for Russian aircraft from so it needs to be up in the north of Scotland somewhere, and they've also got a live bombing range quite close to Lossiemouth. So without further ado, we should take the brakes off, check all the things are in the green, nothing on the caution panel, lifting into the hover, all clear above and behind. There we go, there we go, there we go. Whoa, wobble, wobble, wobble. Nice helicopter in front there. Everything's looking good. Okay, let's go this way. This is Aberdeen Airport. So we shall trundle across, crossing the active. You have to ask permission from air traffic to cross the active. And then there's the control tower on the nose. More helicopters. Oh, we could have parked over here. Look, there's a. Oh, I'll park there next time. There's loads of helipads around the control tower. More helipads over there. Look, there's loads of helicopters. Let's have a look at that. I've never really had a good look at Aberdeen Airport. There's loads of helicopters, isn't there? There's obviously a lot of helicopter operations from here. I suppose with the King popping up every 5 minutes, they could hire a civilian helicopter, couldn't they? As soon as they land, I say, take me. Get a Rolls Royce to pick you up from your plane, take you to the helicopter, and then off to Balmoral. Doesn't take long to get to Balmoral from here. That's for sure. 10 minutes. 15 at the most. Right. We're off to Lossiemouth. Someone said to me, how many hours have you got flying in Flight Simulator? And I've got no idea. No idea. If I had to guess, it's easily let's just say 3,000 hours. Easily on 3 different computers. It does clock it up, it tells you how many hours you've done, and on the first computer I flew all the way around the world, and then I changed to a PC because it started off on a Mac, believe it or not, and one of the reasons I picked X-Plane was because it worked on a Mac, but it soon didn't work because the program got more complicated than the computer, and I had to get a PC. So I installed it on the PC, and when you install it on the PC it starts the clock again from 0, and then I had to get a new hard drive, so I had to reinstall it, and I think to date I've got about 1,500 hours on this hard drive, so yeah, it's probably safe to say 3,000. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I've got. It just builds up. It just builds up, and it's the practice building up. It all counts up here because you learn by your mistakes. You know, I have crashed not very often, but you know, I've crashed doing landing on very narrow helipads on oil rigs and things. I've had the back wheel go over the back and then it's flicked backwards and it's fallen off a few times. But you learn. Oh, computer seems to be struggling a bit. I do enjoy flying around the country. When I say the country, I mean the UK. Let's try going a bit higher this time. Computer might not struggle as much. And one of the problems with flying higher, it has the advantage of being able to see further, so it makes navigation a lot easier. It makes your flying a lot safer because if you have a problem, you've got more time to sort it out, and you've got a greater range, if you like, gliding range to decide where you're going to try and land. And it's safer, it's just safer generally, but everything appears to be going much slower, so therefore it is more boring. Just my opinion. So low level flying, I mean I'm what am I doing now? I'm nearly 1,000 foot on the barometric altimeter. So you put the nose down, the speed rockets up. With the helicopter, you see, if you wanted to glide, you would lower the lever and you actually raise the nose, you wouldn't lower it. Let's see how far we can glide with the lever all the way down, simulating engine failure. Helicopter pilots do this to simulate engine failures, and they practice auto rotation. And many a tail rotor has been dinged on the ground. So one would come down like this and then raise the nose, and you've got one shot at increasing the... Oh, it's really struggling, the computer, for some reason. It's flickering around in this headset. I don't know if it was doing that on the screen. Yeah, you've got one shot at raising the lever because all that inertia you've built up spinning those blades, you've got to transfer the energy into the flare, and then once the energy's gone, it's gone, and the helicopter's going to thump down. So it's something that helicopter pilots should practice a lot, really, because it may save your life one day, but you do risk damaging the helicopter every time you do it. And I've known students who have dinged tail rotors, especially on things like Enströms and that, and the tail rotor getting dinged, it's a really expensive fix, you know. That's why they practice it on airfields, because if you ding it, then the maintenance people can tow it, can't they, back to the hangar, and then see how much damage you've done. That's why you'll notice on this helicopter the tail rotor is quite high up. So it's a good design because it's quite safe up there from getting dinged. Not impossible to ding it, but got to be really unlucky to ding that, I think. We practice it again, see if it... Okay, lever is lowered. Whoa, so you want to raise that nose up, away from the trees. Inertia, inertia, inertia. And we're just aiming for the field. And then just before we touch down, we increase the blades. Of course, my engine's running, so I'm not going to hit down, am I? But the point is you flare the aircraft so it doesn't spank into the ground, and then you run on the skids and just skid along. You know, you don't try to do a hover landing with it. You just do a skid on landing. This has got two engines though, one engine packed up. It's just going to keep going. On the other engine, what you've got to worry about is fires. And if you've got a fire in the engine, you cut the fuel off and hit the fire extinguisher. Probably got fire extinguishers, I don't know where the fire extinguishers are. There they are. And you land the helicopter as fast as possible if you've got a fire. Land it, shut it down, run away. That's the drill. And then stand at a safe distance and assess what to do next. Well, the lives of everyone on board and the safety of the aircraft are paramount. You don't try and just continue on one engine back to base unless it's safe to do so. But if there's a fire, you want to make sure the fire's out. So from the pilot's perspective, I'd just land it, shut it down, walk away from it, call the engineers and let them come and deal with it, because they know more about these things than I do. If they say it's safe to fly, then I'll fly it on one engine. If it's not safe to fly on one engine, then we make another plan. But a lot of helicopters have only got one engine. We certainly wouldn't want to be flying out to an oil rig with it in a one engine helicopter. A lot to be said for multi-engines. See, if you had a twin engine car, theoretically, I mean nobody does. There is the odd one with two engines, but if you had a twin engine car, if they fit under the hood there, each engine would be working a lot less than one engine. And if you had them serviced regularly, the car would probably do a lot more miles than a single engine. Talking engines, of course, but if you had a twin gearboxes as well, I mean, alright, the argument is there's twice as many things to go wrong. I suppose that's a valid point. And that wouldn't have any bearing on the transmission and the wheel bearings and the brakes and things that, you know. As far as the engine's concerned, the engines would have an easier life because they wouldn't need to work as hard. Ever. And if one engine packed up, you could continue to your destination. But it would be an additional cost to have two engines and two gearboxes, I suppose. Would you even need two gearboxes? Perhaps you could run them through. But if they've got to be independent, you don't want one engine to pack up, and that would have a detrimental effect on the engine that's good. Okay. I hate wires. Wires are no cloud. My two biggest nightmares. Not too keen on trees, but I mean trees, if you crash in trees you'll be killed, you know, so you try and avoid trees wherever is realistically possible. Avoid flying over big bodies of trees if you can help it. I do it a lot, but ideally you want to avoid trees or go across the trees at the narrowest point. like so. Then looking ahead at the trees, two clumps of trees, try and go between them. Just flying this low, you hit a truck. You've got to keep an eye out for vehicles as well. Vehicles, wires, trees. Like I said, wires are the biggest killers of helicopters, I think. Bit of a river here. There's the River Lossie, of course, which empties out into the sea. The mouth of the river, that's Lossiemouth, which is where we're going. After we've done the oil rig. We'll follow the valley around now. Instead of going over the hill, we'll go round it. Pylons. Go under the wires this time. Little dodgy. I would never do that in a real aeroplane, by the way, just thought I'd point that out. Never. Unless I had to, I had no choice. If I had a choice, I wouldn't do it. Nice. You can try all kinds of things in Flight Simulator that you would never do in real life. Unless you're stupid. Are they wires or just a... No, it's just a light. Constantly looking for poles, because you see the poles sometimes before you see the wires. Okay, we should be seeing the coastline very soon. .330, give me 330, and that should take us to the rig. Got the rig, got it in sight. Lossiemouth should be over there. Avoid that clump of trees. And we'll go to the left and avoid the next clump of trees. Realistically, when you're flying, you have to keep resetting your barometric altimeter. There is a subscale on the altimeter because the pressure changes all the time with the weather, goes up, goes down. So wherever you're going, you have to call them, and they'll give you the what's known as the QFE, which is the height of the aerodrome above sea level. The rest of the time, when you're flying, you fly on QNH, which is the height above sea level, and that changes all the time. You know, as you're flying along, they constantly update the QNH subscale setting. But I've got RAD-ALT on this helicopter, which gives me my radio or radar altimeter, gives me my altitude all the time below the helicopter, so I don't need to keep messing about with the altimeter. So I have RAD-ALT, but if I was flying airways or under control of air traffic control, I would have to keep resetting the barometric subscale. Okay, there's our oil rig. It's a very windless day by the looks of things. The sea looks very calm today. So I'm lowering the lever, raising the nose, slowing the helicopter down. And once we get close, we'll be able to get visual with the helipad. I think it's one with 2 helipads. They're generic, these things. So I'll go for the higher helipad. And we'll do an unload, load simulation. So we'll be there for, I don't know, 30 seconds. Not long. Just long enough to simulate an unload or a load. Open the door, close the door, that sort of thing. Get out, get in. And then we'll go off to Lossiemouth, which is just over there. Another problem over water is you really don't have any idea how high you are. Okay, we're into wind. Get rid of the map. Don't need that. Okay, we've got a high and a low. And what you don't want is to have your lever down too far, too long. And it makes it very difficult to come back. And you don't want to be ragging that lever up at the last second thinking, oh shit, I'm going to hit the ground. So it's much better to do a real gradual descent. And don't rush it. There's no point in rushing. There's no point in trying to be flash. It's a recipe for disaster. Okay, we're upwind of the helipad, so I'm slowly going to get in closer, get everything under control, let everything settle down. It's all tiny, 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 tiny movements. And depending on the size of your helicopter, you need to be further on the pad than a smaller helicopter. So okay, we're ready for the approach. Got a bit of a crosswind. And any time at all you're not happy, you just go around, you know, you power up again and go away and come back. Take your time. 12-ton limit on the pad. So you need to be, don't touch down yet, don't touch down. Keep the rotors at flying speed. Need to be well onto the pad. Okay, I think that should do it. Okay, touchdown, brakes. On the brakes. Brakes on. Okay, we're on the pad. So we shall go outside. There's our chopper. Okay, we can open the door. There's a step just there. Look, let's get a bit closer to the helicopter. Super close, look at that. Jumping in, jumping out, jumping in, jumping out. The chap over there, look, that's the exit point. So we go off down those stairs. No, it's only active, we can only be here on the pad. Okay. That's long enough. Close the door. See what I mean about the tail wheel? The tail wheel's like... It's really deceiving because I could have done to have been a bit further on the pad there. Look, I mean, it's on the pad, but... And when you're in the cockpit, it looks like you're well on, but you're not. You're not as well on as you think you are. It's a big helicopter. Right, we're going to Lossiemouth. Everyone's on, everyone's in. All clear above and behind, clear to lift, brakes off, holding on the brakes so it doesn't roll. Power up. Brakes off and we're away. Heading for Lossiemouth. I need a lot more practice at oil rigs, that's for sure. That's why whenever I get the opportunity I'll go and do it. And if I crash, I crash, you know. I'm not going to hide it, I'll leave it on for you to see what happens when you crash. Perfectly safe, of course. That's the end of the flight and you just get another helicopter. It doesn't happen like that in real life, of course, but this is the place to practice. So we tune the other radios down there, we tune radio into Lossiemouth, we call them up, so we're just inbound to you from the oil rig, oil platform, approaching from the north east over the sea, and we'd like to come in and land at Lossiemouth, and they'd give us joining instructions, probably joining low level and in the northeast corner. they've probably got aircraft activity. But helicopters can do that, you see, they can slip in and out of airports low level without getting in the way of the circuit pattern, because they've probably got jets going round in the circuit at 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, whatever height they do their circuits at, and helicopter can come in low level, slip in right underneath, doesn't interfere with anyone, don't need to cross the active runway, and you can go straight to a parking area. So yes, lots of advantages to being a helicopter. Okay, so on the other side of these trees we've got Lossiemouth, RAF Lossiemouth Air Base, I believe. This is the mouth of the River Lossie, and the town of Lossiemouth is right there ahead of us. So let's get ourselves over the trees and onto the base. Start lowering the lever, raise the nose, slow the helicopter down. And we'll park by the control tower. So all the time the helicopter's slowing. There we go, we're down to a nice manageable hovering speed now. There's lots of Phantom F4s, Drawners parked here, but they operate, I think, the Typhoon from here, the Eurofighter Typhoon, and the F-35 from here. I dare say they operated Phantoms back in the day. We'll do a hover taxi down the taxiway. And we'll park up near the tower somewhere. Lots of floodlights. Hazard to helicopters. That's why I'm keeping over on this side of the taxiway. Keep my disc a safe distance from the masts. Okay, so where should we park? That's close to the tower and convenient. Don't forget, if aircraft are taxiing down these taxiways, the wings are going to stick out on both sides. So we don't want to be in range of a wing or a wingtip. Oh, here will do. Oh. Brakes on. Welcome to Lossiemouth in Scotland. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.